Shut up. Shut up. I did never go to high school. Or I went to high school for very I went to high school for a very limited amount of time. And I went for like a semester. And then I dropped out. Due to circumstances outside of my control, I could not progress further. So I never graduated. But like I've technically completed it, I guess, but that's the thing is like I didn't really have that experience. I didn't go to I feel like those are some pretty formative years. That's where it kind of friendships start to like lock the fuck in and like shit gets serious. You start dropping people maybe. The years leading up to when I like should have had high school, so like middle school, I guess. Those were some troublesome times. Not only for like my experience like as a human being, but like troublesome times for the school itself. Bunch of shit happened and like shit got exposed, and that was like the catalyst I think for me leaving. It was like it was out of my control, but like an uncredentialed superintendent hired an uncredentialed teacher to take like children, like minors, like children, like little kids. Like I'm talking like we're talking 10 all the way to like 18. I think the one kid was 19 one year, like out of the country, like fully like outside of the United States. And I grew up basically like during middle school. I was on the phone like constantly with like lawyers and shit trying to interview me. I was hot shit back then, back in middle school, and I don't know, they shut me down. They tried to silence me legally with like lawyers and shit as like a 13-year-old kid. I was in I was in some musicals. I was in some musicals with my brother. I didn't really like doing them. I did them as like a social thing with my brother, but like I'm much more interested in the behind the scenes like tech high shit. Tech high shit, yeah. Um like doing lighting and shit and like pulling ropes and shit. You know when like a guy walks on a stage and like he's about to confront the protagonist and his shit just gets rocked by a fucking like sandbag or some shit. That was me. I remember there was this one time in middle school in one of these musicals we was doing Aladdin, and this kid had hit like their head like it was a the flying carpet was coming down real hot, coming down real fast, and it hit this kid right on the top of the head. Now I'm thinking back to first aid training, I'm thinking back to all that shit, and I'm like, oh, this motherfucker has a concussion, and so we turn off the lights. He's crying. He's being like, if I go to sleep, I'll die. I'll die if I go to sleep. I told him that was false. He ignored me. Like that's a misconception. You won't die if you have a concussion. You go to sleep. He wasn't listening to me. He was in a state of concussness. He was concussed like fully, like 100%. And we were trying to keep things quiet, not trying to stimulate him at all. So we were all doing our shit in silence. This kid walks in, real annoying, and just goes, "What's up, motherfuckers? What's up? What's up, bitches?" And he switches on the lights and like slams the door open, making a ton of noise, which is the opposite of what we need right now. So we're like, "Yo, dude, like, fuck off." Like, no, I shouldn't say that. That's probably I can't say that probably. It was just a real experience for. There's just a whole lot of there's a whole lot of shit out there, and what the fuck am I saying? you'd be, I mean, you wouldn't really be surprised. A lot of those theater kids, they turn out to be like they like the older ones are like the younger ones. As a kid, uh, I was kind of a garbage person. Kids would like sometimes I wouldn't go to school lunch, so like when a kid would like throw away pizza or like something like that, I mean, and it was relatively to the top of the trash can. I mean, I'd still go for it. Like I wasn't digging deep into the trash for like old food, but if it like one time my friend was like promised me pizza, and the weird thing that they did was they stacked like three pizzas on top of like each other, and that motherfucker was just taking bites, right? Like bites out of three slices at one time, like on top of each other. Got like three bites in, threw that shit away after promising me like they were like, "Yo, you can have the rest of this shit." So I'm like, "Yo, man, what the hell?" And so I go in and I grab the pizzas and I'm like, still fucking, it's still good food, dog. Why judge a motherfucker for trying to eat it? And that was when I almost fell into like the right wing sort of like Nazi pipeline. Almost was that like I was into like Steven Crowder and like Ben Shapiro, and then it took a weird turn where I got into like John Doyle, but like on the surface level, and I was like, dude, that shit kind of scared me away of like being like a right wing motherfucker. Was that it just seemed kind of whack to me what the shit John Doyle was doing, especially finding out years later he's like white people are the superior ones, and that shit was not cool. And I remember the first year of middle school, or like the last year of elementary school, was like when Donald Trump was like for yeah, it was elementary school because I specifically remember a conversation I had with one of my friends. So we had this optional thing where if you had like a younger sibling at the school, you could stay in like the elementary school classes in 6th grade so that like you wouldn't have to, so that you wouldn't have to go on like separate days, because our school you only went on certain days if you were a certain age and certain days if you were a certain age. Um, because my friend was a year older than me, so he's in 6th grade. I was in 5th grade. He was supposed to be in middle school, but he stayed. Like he was in 6th grade, like on the papers, but he stayed in elementary school because he had like a younger sibling that was still there. I remember writing about not liking Donald Trump back then, even as like a 10-year-old. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I just didn't like his vibe. I didn't fuck with it. I mean, he just seemed like a sleazy New Yorker, and ever since I was a little kid, I did not like people from New York. I mean, like the city. I did not like the city of New York. Like, if you from uh like Long Island or like Palmyra, or like what's that place they call it? Apple? No, I'm thinking of the Big Apple, aren't I? Okay, yeah. But I had a very heavy prejudice against people from the East Coast because I myself am from California. Oh, Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump. I didn't like his vibe. I did not like Clinton either. I heard about some email stuff and I was like, the fuck? What's that? And I didn't really understand like the full. I didn't grasp because I was like 10 years old. I didn't fully grasp like what was even happening. Even I didn't grasp what the fuck the emails were, but I knew that they were bad, and I knew that was like leaked after a lot of the polls were like, yeah, she's definitely gonna win. And so when people say like Hillary was ahead of the polls the whole time, now people look back saying like Kamala's actually gonna be way fucking behind Trump now. Kamala's probably gonna stay ahead because she's probably not going to have a shit to that magnitude leak, you know? But I didn't fuck with Donald Trump. And I had this conversation with a friend of mine. And I remember he said that, like, that email stuff is not as bad as what Trump did. And I'm like, well, what did Trump do? But I said it, like, very combatively. Like, I was trying to pick a fight over, like, a guy I didn't even really care about. Like, okay. I think I was raised in I wasn't raised in a conservative, like, immediate family, but it was low-key, like, apolitical to, like, center-left leaning. But my community was largely conservative, you know, except from, like, my friends. And I'm glad that was the case, because I eventually, like, we eventually all aligned. And I'm glad we did, because that would have caused some contention. But yeah, I asked it very combatively, and I look back, and a lot of my interactions with people, a lot of my interactions with my friends, a lot of my interactions with especially my parents, I owe my parents, like, a big apology, because I was a very combative individual when I was in middle school and, like, grade school. And I would take a stance on shit I didn't really believe in. On shit I was, like, trying to force myself to believe in. And I would damage relationships by doing it. I kind of processing, like, what I did, like, right now. It wasn't, like, anything big. It was just, I was not very good at going about what I thought I knew in, like, a respectful way that would, like, actually make other people kind of understand what I'm all about. And I wonder about things that if, like, COVID never happened, if I had continued throughout high school, where I would be right now. Because I don't think I would be here.
Once more we meet, you look so sweet, dear, can't you see how I feel? I love you still, I always will, you have the same old appeal.